From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Anne Waodo.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, President Tinubu directs the military to decimate terror groups and criminal gangs as Nigeria celebrates the 2025 Army Day. Labour Party's 2025 presidential candidate 2023, Peter Obi, criticizes President Bola Tinubu's administration and says he will serve only one term if elected president in 2027. And the second installment of Journey into War series continues tonight as Channels Television's Kayode Kikiolu shares what life is like in the Ukrainian city of Lviv and Kiev amidst the war with Russia. And at least 69 people have died after flash floods swept through parts of central Texas. We begin tonight with security matters. Crushed terrorists, bandits, separatists, and other criminal groups threatening Nigeria's peace and unity. Well, that's a directive coming from President Bola Tinubu to the Nigerian military. President Tinubu, who was represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, gave this charge at the grand finale of the 2025 Nigerian Army Day celebration, which was held in Kaduna State, reaffirming his administration's commitment to the welfare of troops.
Every year on July 6th, Nigeria commemorates the birth of its national army, established in 1863 as the Glover Hausas. Army Day is a reminder of service, sacrifice, and the enduring strength of the nation's military. The 2025 celebration in Kaduna drew top dignitaries: former head of state General Yakubu Gowon, Governor Ubasani, service chiefs, ministers, and traditional rulers. The event opened with an address by the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Oluwafemi Oluyede.
Recently, our nation has been challenged by enemies of peace, perpetrating all forms of criminality and terrorism within our borders. Notwithstanding, the Nigerian Army, in collaboration with sister services and other security agencies, have been able to rise to the occasion by denying these criminal elements the opportunity to disrupt territorial integrity of their country, Nigeria.
From tactical displays to advanced military hardware, the event showcases the Army's combat readiness and its evolving strategies in the face of modern security threats.
The level where they are now even more proactive than before, and there are so many other additional resources that they are having that were not there when we were there. So that added together with their own zeal and resilience, with their commitment and professionalism, I believe they are doing the needful and we will soon overcome.
We must continue to acknowledge them, to praise them, to encourage them, all right? Once you're in the battlefield, you are already in a matter of life and death any moment. So they should not be discouraged. We must encourage them, and they must be looked at as patriots, as people that have sacrificed, have continued to sacrifice themselves, their families, their comfort, all right, for us.
It was also a moment to reaffirm the Nigerian Army's professionalism, resilience, and unwavering dedication to peace and stability. Vice President Kashim Shettima delivered a message on behalf of President Bola Tinubu, directing the military to confront all threats to national security, while assuring troops of continued government support.
We are not unaware of the challenges that confront our nation. Terrorism, insurgency, banditry, and separatist agitations have threatened our peace and our unity. These are not mere security threats, they are existential ones. And let it be said plainly, these evils do not discriminate by tribe or faith. They destroy churches and mosques alike. They abduct children without asking why they worship. Therefore, our response must be united, armed, and uncompromising.
The ceremony paid tribute to fallen heroes whose sacrifices will never be forgotten, reminding the nation of the true cost of peace.
To be received on his behalf by Major Z.A. Ugu.
As Army Day 2025 concludes, there's a renewed hope that the welfare of troops will remain a top priority and the legacy of those who gave their lives for Nigeria will forever be honored.
The Nigerian Air Force, it has reaffirmed its resolve to defend the nation's airspace and intensify operations against insurgency across the country. And this assurance was given at the Veterans Parley held at the 115th Special Operations Group in Port Harcourt, the River State capital. Representing the Chief of Air Staff, Vice Marshal Oluwaseyi disclosed that the force has recently acquired new aircraft to bolster its aerial capabilities and enhance national security.
The 115th Special Operations Group in Port Harcourt, River State, plays host to the mid-year Chief of Air Staff's Veterans Parley, a gathering aimed at reconnecting with retired officers and harnessing their wealth of experience. The event drew serving personnel, retired officers, and members of the local community. Attendees were warmly welcomed with a brief medical outreach before formal proceedings began. In his opening remarks, Group Captain Abdul Hafiz Okbaleye, commander of the 115 Special Operations Group, highlighted the enduring contributions of veterans to the growth and transformation of the Nigerian Air Force.
As a result of some of your contributions individually and collectively, that the Nigerian Air Force has transformed itself with the capability that it has today to be one of the most renowned air forces in the African continent. We appreciate your contribution to the Nigerian Air Force. And the Chief of Air Staff recognized your contribution, and that was why I'm sure this initiative was prompted, so that the Nigerian Air Force will continue to benefit from your experience and also create the opportunity for all of us to continue to interact.
Speaking on behalf of the Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Oluwaseyi listed recently acquired aircraft, reinforcing the Air Force's commitment to meeting national security challenges through enhanced air power.
15 brand new aircraft were received by the Nigerian Air Force, including 6 T-129 attack helicopters, 2 AW-109 trackers, 3 Beechcraft King Air aircraft, and 4 Diamond 62 aircraft. An additional 49 platforms are expected before the end of the year 2026. They include 3 Casa-295 aircraft, 10 AW-109 tracker helicopters, 12 AH-1Z helicopters, and 24 M346 fighter aircraft.
On the sidelines, veterans expressed gratitude for the engagement, describing it as an opportunity to reconnect, share ideas, and stay involved in shaping the force's future.
It gives room to a lot of veterans to speak of their problems and also to speak about how well the service is doing.
With what the cast have introduced the Parley Party, I can tell you I'm very, very much happy to see people that have retired when I was very young in the service, even my older ones. In fact, I give the cast a kudos, and I pray that you continue to do this often so that at least the renewal will really bring more to the betterment of the service.
A group photograph and informal interactions wrapped up the day. Initiated in 2023, the Veterans Parley continues to serve as a strategic bridge between past service and current transformation. Charles Oporum, Channels Television News.
Nigerian youths have been advised to abstain from drug abuse, cultism and criminal activities, as these are capable of destroying their future. They've been asked to instead imbibe the virtue of honesty, integrity, sincerity, patriotism and shunning corrupt practices. The commander of 1 Brigade of the Nigerian Army in Gusau, Brigadier General Timothy Oporum, made the call during the public speaking engagement as part of activities to mark the Nigerian Army Day celebration.
Thank you very much. Please be seated.
As part of Army Day 2025 celebrations, the 1 Brigade of the Nigerian Army hosted a student engagement in Zamfara State.
If you're happy and you know, and you only want to show, if you're happy and you know, clap your hands.
Representing the brigade commander, the Chief of Staff, Lieutenant Colonel Ibrahim Gobir, said the Army is committed to restoring peace and building a disciplined youth population.
The war we are fighting today is not only that we concentrate on the fighting alone. No, we have to also engage in non-kinetic operations, which is part of the operation to ensure we have peace and stability in our country. There must be 3 things for these fighting against banditry we go. That is the part of the military, that is the part of the government, and that is the part of the society. All these 3 factors must come together to ensure security, safety for all the citizens. And you, the students, are very important to us because you are the youth, you are the leaders of tomorrow.
Captain Okeke of the Army Medical Corps also warned students against drugs and cultism, saying they lead to failure and regret.
Drug of abuse, there are many. You have amphetamines, you have opioids, in fact, you have over-the-counter drugs. People abuse all kinds of drugs. As a message to you, drugs are meant to treat diseases and ailments. Do not take drugs just for the other reasons that I mentioned, because these drugs have a lot of effect on you. And I am here just to bring the effect of these drugs on you so that you know whether you really want to do those drugs or you avoid them for your own good.
The Nigerian Army says it will continue to engage youth to promote discipline, discourage vices, and build interest in national service.
Boko Haram terrorists have killed 9 internally displaced returnees in a deadly attack on Malam Faturi, which is a border community with Abadam local government area of Borno State. The assault, which occurred at about 272 kilometers from Maiduguri, also left 4 people injured. The governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Zulum, visited the affected families to offer condolences, providing them with cash while reaffirming his administration's commitment to the safety of returnees and intensified security measures. And as part of efforts to prevent future attacks, the state government has announced plans to deploy excavators to dig defensive trenches around the local government headquarters in Malam Faturi, fortifying the town against further attacks by Boko Haram or ISWAP. The Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 election, Mr. Peter Obi, says the present administration lacks what it takes to govern the people. In an interview on our political program Politics Today, or Sunday Politics, Mr. Obi adds that he will only serve 1 term if voted as president of Nigeria.
I will not use 150 billion to buy a jet when 80% of our primary health care centers are not functioning.
Even as against security protocols.
Which security?
You've been a governor, you know what it means.
No, what do you mean security? That's what they tell. That's nonsense they tell. I was a governor for my first 4 years. I drove 406. For the rest of it, I didn't drive bulletproof cars. Nobody's trying to kill you. You're doing the right thing. That's not governance. The country needs governance. I said it and I put it in capital. I don't need a day more than 4 years. In fact, the day
and
before,
you fix Nigeria in those 4 years.
It's not fair. I will show the direction of good governance.
You've been a 2-term governor. Why do you want to?
In 2 years, there had been maximum damage. That shows 2 years can change it in good direction.
In part 2, after the break, the Senate says it has not received certified judgments nullifying Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's suspension. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television, broadcasting from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. President Bola Tinubu directs the military to decimate terror groups and criminal gangs as Nigeria celebrates the 2025 Army Day. The Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate, Peter Obi, criticizes President Tinubu's administration, insists he will serve only one term if elected president in 2027. The second installment of Journey into War series continues tonight as Channels Television's Kayode Okikiolu shares what life is like in the Ukrainian city of Lviv and Kiev amidst the war with Russia. And at least 69 people have died after flash floods swept through parts of central Texas. The Minister of Livestock Development, Edi Mukhtar Meher, has highlighted 3 areas of partnership with Brazil, which will include health and disease management, sanitary services, and research into genetic materials and new breeds. The minister, who is part of the federal government's delegation that accompanied the 17th BRICS Summit, was speaking after the bilateral meeting between delegations of both countries. Meanwhile, the Minister of Agriculture, Senator Abubakar Kyari, also highlighted President Tinubu's insistence on food security for Nigeria through local and global partnerships.
What is new here are 3 things that we hope to gain from Brazil. Number 1 is the issue of health and disease management. Surprisingly, today Brazil has been declared foot and mouth disease free. And that is a record. Brazil's land size is about 9 times the size of Nigeria. They have the largest commercial cattle population in the world, about 236.7 million. We have identified what animal breeds that can do in Nigeria for both dairy and beef. We have identified those, and we are coming up with a robust plan to establish 6 breeding centers in Nigeria.
Where we can leverage on the experiences of Brazil is through Embrapa, which is the research agency in charge of agriculture and livestock. And we have met with them last month when we came for the second Africa-Brazil dialogue, myself and the Minister of Livestock, and we intend to meet with them this time around to see the pathways of how we can imbibe, the kind of culture of research and development that succeeded in Brazil. We also have the capacity, we have the resources, both human and financial resources. It is the conversion that is missing, and this is what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu seeks to bring into the system.
The tragic road crash in Kasuwar Dogo at Dakatsil along the Zaria-Kano highway has claimed the lives of 21 people, leaving 3 others injured. According to a statement by the Federal Road Safety Corps, Kano State Sector Command, the accident involved a bus and a DAF trailer. According to preliminary reports by the FRSC, the accident was caused by a route violation by the bus driver, leading to a fatal head-on collision with the trailer. The impact triggered a fire outbreak that engulfed both vehicles. Meanwhile, the remains of the deceased have now been deposited at the Nasarawa Hospital mortuary in Kano, while the injured victims are receiving treatment at Garun Malam General Hospital. The governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, says the dangerous practice of transporting hundreds of people in a single truck is unacceptable. He made the remarks during the condolence visit to 2 communities in Kirfi local government area affected by the tragic road accident involving a trailer reportedly conveying 200 passengers. Governor Mohammed also donated 50 million Naira's relief fund to support the victims and their families. Our correspondent Hajara Aliyu reports.
These are some of the victims of the tragic road accident that occurred in Kankwana, Kirfi local government area of Bauchi State last week. The atmosphere remains somber as Governor Bala Mohammed pays a condolence visit to the grieving communities. Eyewitnesses report that a trailer was transporting hundreds of people from Badara and Baba communities who were returning from gathering wood for use at a community burial ground. The governor expresses deep concern over what he describes as a gross act of negligence.
9 people died, over 39 people sustained various degrees of injuries. They were all treated, about 5 are remaining. But we know there is an element of negligence, and so we are commiserating with our people for that act of negligence and accident.
As part of his support, he announces a 50 million naira donation to the bereaved families and survivors.
On behalf of myself and the government of Bauchi State, we are giving 2 million each to the families who lost 9 people, that is 18 million. And we are giving victims of the 5 victims that are still in hospital 1 million, in addition to what the local government is doing. And the 39 people that have been discharged, each one will be given 500,000 naira, totaling 19,500.
On the sidelines of the visit, Governor Muhammad also addresses the issue of recurring flooding in Kirifi, assuring residents that his administration is implementing measures to mitigate its impact. He encourages locals to adopt preventive practices as well.
You don't go and build a house on a waterway and expect not the water to come. It will come and take its course. So right from the onset, we should avoid preventable misadventure.
The governor also inspects a 300 million naira gully erosion control project in Badara, executed in collaboration with AfriSol. Hajara Aliyu, Channels Television News.
Earlier this week, armed bandits attacked and killed several persons in Tangaza local government area of Sokoto State. And the spate of attacks across Nigeria's northwest region has increased concerns about the effectiveness of security and defense systems. So tonight, we'll continue a special series on the review of security operations across the geopolitical regions in the country. Data scientist Babajide Oguso, who is the founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data analyst, is here to share the facts, the analysis, and of course insights about security situation in Nigeria's northwest region. Thank you very much, Babajide, for joining us again on the news at 10.
Good evening, Anna.
And now, is the new epicenter of terrorism now the northwest region? Who are those behind these attacks when you look at it, and can you connect the dots?
That's 2 questions in one.
3 actually.
So, can we call the northwest region the epicenter of terrorism now? No, we can't, because, you know, we've just 2 weeks ago we looked at the north central region. Tonight we're looking at the northwest region. So clearly, when we're done with all the 6 regions, we then can easily decide where is the epicenter. But from the report we had and the evidence from the north central, total fatalities in the north central region for the first half of this year, 850 fatalities, and those fatalities include civilians, military personnel, security agencies, personnel that work with security agencies, and yes, even the terrorists. So that is the total fatalities figure for the north central in the first half of this year, 850. For the northwest region that we're looking at today, the evidence that we'll still look at much later shows that total fatalities in the first half of this year, going by the data from ACLED, which is about the most verifiable data we have globally, shows that in Nigeria's northwest region, first half of this year, total fatalities, 1,800. So yes, if we compare the fatalities in the north central region to Nigeria's northwest region, clearly there's more security concerns in the northwest region compared to the north central region. However, until we look at all the data from the geopolitical regions, we then can take a firm position on where the epicenter is. So that answers the first question, Anne. Your second question, who is behind the attacks? And I'd like to answer that with giving this example, and please listen carefully to me. In the 2004 Euros football match, Portugal played Spain. Now, Portugal won that match not because Spain played badly or Spain played so well. Spain scored an own goal, and so Portugal won. In the 2018 World Cup, Iran versus Morocco, Iran won that match not because Iran played great football, but it was because Morocco scored an own goal. Last year during the Euros, France versus Belgium, again, France won that match not because the French football team played fantastic football. It was because Belgium scored an own goal. And so in this match between Terrorist FC and Nigeria, the terrorists are really not winning because of anything fantastic. It is that Nigeria seems to be scoring a lot of own goals. And I'll explain what I mean by own goals if we have the time later in the analysis tonight.
All right, but how effective are security defense operations across the Northwest region? And is there any verifiable data that can actually be relied on?
Yes, we have verifiable data. There are 3 data points that I'd like to quickly talk about. Let's talk about the very first point. Let's take a look at what I talk about, Nigeria scoring an own goal. And the chart of the week clearly lets us understand how significant the economy situation is to security. Look at what's going on in the Northwest. Yes, the evidence from the National Bureau of Statistics shows that in Kano, using an example, you have 5.8 million people that are employable. They feel that there's good news that 5.4 million of those employable are employed. However, the evidence shows that only 91% of those that say they're employed are self-employed. In all, and in the Northwest region, we have 22.6 million employable people. However, out of those that are employed, 93% of them say it's self-employment. And if you ask anybody that has been that is self-employed, 2 words are associated with self-employment: unstable income. In simple terms, the point is 93% of families living in the Northwest are suffering from unstable income. And whenever there's unstable income, there is crisis anywhere in the world. That's the first point. That's the first data we need to understand. How we feel that people are employed, however, it is people are self-employed. And the real impact of self-employment is crisis. Now, let's take a look at the second data point, because within that second data point, there's good news and there's bad news. Looking at the half-year security review of Northwest operations. Now, the bad news is that in the Northwest region, Zamfara and Katsina are the epicenter of terrorism in Nigeria's Northwest region. From the evidence we have from ACLED, which is the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data, which is the most verifiable data and accurate data we have on terrorism incidents, especially looking at the breakdown, Zamfara and Katsina in the first half of this year account for 80% of all total fatalities. And by total fatalities, like I mentioned earlier, it includes deaths due to civilians, deaths from terrorists, and also deaths included in that is the military personnel data. So Zamfara, Katsina, epicenter of terrorism in the Northwest. The good news, however, is 67% of those fatality numbers that you have in front of you are fatalities due to terrorists. So that is the evidence. Again, let's look at why Zamfara, Katsina, and Sokoto, these countries, these states in the Northwest region, why are they the epicenter? And the facts that we have shows that 7 states in the Northwest, 5 out of these 7 states all share borders with the Republic of Niger. Only Kano and Kaduna in the Northwest region are really not sharing borders with it. So clearly, there's a lot of reasons when the Chief of Defense Staff had mentioned that we need to take our borders security more seriously, especially if we are going to consider building borders there.
Thank you very much, Babajide Ogunsowo. Sorry, we have very limited time this time, but thanks for your analysis on the News at 10. Babajide Ogunsowo, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data analyst. Thanks for your time on News at 10. And still ahead on the News at 10, at least 69 people die after flash floods swept through parts of central Texas, and that's on the foreign scene. Please join us again. Welcome back. Tonight we bring you the second installment of Journey into War series with Channels Television's Kayode Kikiolu sharing what life is like in the Ukrainian cities of Lviv and Kiev amidst the war with Russia, plus an unexpected encounter with a Nigerian man who is choosing to stay in Ukraine in spite of the present danger.
I'm heading to war at 60 kilometers per hour, and it almost feels
like I'm heading in the wrong direction. I pray under my breath and watch the window endlessly, as though on the lookout for a possible attack. Scores of tanks litter the tracks and look like they've been abandoned for too long. Then all of a sudden, the train grinds to a halt. My mind runs riot. Thankfully, it's the border guards. They've come to check the train and our papers. That adds over an hour to the journey. We finally arrive. My first impression of Ukraine is different from what you may have expected. No missiles flying in the air, no tanks rolling across the street. But then, this is not the front line. It's my first morning in Lviv. The sun is out, and the city is calm, just like any other European city where tourists visit. Our first stop is at the Superhuman Center, a place of healing for soldiers torn by battle. Here they get prosthetics, trauma care, and a shot at reclaiming their lives.
Ампутація рук, ампутація ноги. Тобто з пацієнтами я усіх видів травм можу спілкуватися вільно.
And I also have the entire spectrum of traumas that the center deals with. The loss of right eye, left ear, limbs, upper limbs, lower limbs, so I can connect to any patient that receives care at our center.
We meet Ruslanovich, who joined the military at just 18. She lost her leg in Kherson in 2023. An air raid siren interrupts her story. The war has a cruel sense of timing.
Well, we're headed to the shelter now. We just got an alarm, air raid alarm.
But not every soldier makes it out alive. A sea of Ukrainian flags stand where hope now lies buried. This is Lviv's burial ground for soldiers who died in the battle.
You know, this could have been a park for children to play. It could have been a basketball court, a tennis court. But it isn't. This is the final resting place of hundreds of people who were killed as a result of the war. And I see people of different ages.
A soldier born the same week as me was just laid to rest before I arrived. Next, we meet the mayor at his balcony, and I ask him how he carries this weight.
How do you build your emotions?
It's a very smart question. First of all, thank you for visit to Lechakov Cemetery, but you understand our price for our independence. It's my recipe. It's my personal recipe. Approximately 70% my time I dedicate for govern current situation, and 40% my time I dedicate about thinking about future, imagine dreams, and this process give me huge power management current situation.
Young people also share their losses and hopes for the future.
It's not easy to move in such circumstances.
And just when I take a moment to take it all in, another heartbreaking moment unfolds before my eyes. 2 children approach me to beg for alms when they should be in school, at a playground, or safe with their parents. We then take a 6-hour train ride to the capital, Kiev.
That is
in Kiev, it's darker, and not just the sky, but the mood. Just yesterday, 28 people were killed, in missile strikes. And today, the sky is silent, but silence can be deceptive. In the morning, we passed scorched tanks and twisted steel near the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. War memorabilia, still fresh. And then I meet the most unlikely person in Ukraine, a Nigerian.
You must have metallic testicles.
And just when I think the day will end on a peaceful note, the war had other plans in mind. The air alarm rings, says missiles were approaching. I dash down to the bunker.
This is warning from drones. This is...
After almost an hour, the threats reduce and the alarm rings again.
So the air alert.
We're safe to return to our rooms.
Looks like the region is clear.
Next, we visit towns that were occupied and the massacre that ensued. Then a conversation with prisoners of war. And Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs has a message for African nations in partnership with Russia.
You will get the bill.
And back home, the Senate says that it has not been served this certified true copy of the judgment which nullified the 6-month suspension of Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. A statement issued by the Chairman Senate Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Senator Yemi Adaramodu, says the lawyers to the lawmakers who were in attendance at the proceedings confirmed that the complete judgment was not read in open court. The Senate is, according the statement, formally applying for the certified true copy to enable thorough review and informed determination of the appropriate legal response, especially in view of what the upper legislative chamber describes as the uncertainty surrounding whether the court made any direct order nullifying the suspension of Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan. The statement also adds that pending receipt and examination of the CTC, the acting on the advice of its counsel, it will refrain from taking any steps that may prejudice its legal position. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, is asking church leaders to avoid persons trying to use the church for propaganda or blackmail. He was speaking during the FCT administration's Thanksgiving service at St. James Anglican Church in Asokoro, Abuja. The minister adds that the church leaders should not engage in political matters without having in-depth knowledge of such acts as it threatens the unity of the country.
It's the first Sunday of July and a day of Thanksgiving for officials of the Federal Capital Territory Administration as they converged on the St. James Anglican Church Asokoro with a heart of gratitude for the just concluded commissioning of projects in the FCT. The FCT Minister, Mr. Nyesom Wike, leads the delegation, accompanied by the Governor of Edo State, Monday Okpebolo, former governors of Benue and Enugu states, as well as lawmakers from Rivers State and other invited guests. The sermon by the officiating minister centers on God's plan for his children and the need to trust the process.
God has wonderful plans, good designs, thoughts of good and not of evil. The only message I have for Your Excellency is that we have built a school, this church has built a school, and that school is in Zidu district. But by the grace of God, today we don't have road to go there. Minister, as you plan your program for the years ahead, put us in your budget.
After the sermon, an award of excellence and a badge is presented to the minister. A cake is also cut. Mr. Wike then proceeds to address the church, and he speaks on the importance of the Thanksgiving while obliging the request of the vicar.
Maybe I will ask
the radio secretary to go and find out where the school is and see what we can do to support it. Frankly speaking, why we decided to end up this celebration of the second year in office of Mr. President, for the past 16 good days, it was not easy. Nobody lost his life. And we thank God for the grace. We thank God for the strength and given to all of us.
He also has an advice for the church.
But then it's an opportunity to tell us, particularly the church, he nearly made the worst mistake in 2023. Ask us question. We are the politicians. You have to be careful of what they tell you. So if you want us to educate you, call us. Don't allow people with propaganda, blackmail.
Thereafter, the vicar pressed for the FCTA officials and other guests. In the last 4 weeks, the FCTA administration commissioned a total of 16 projects. Now the FCT Minister, Mr. Nyesom Wike, has promised to engage in more people-centric projects in order to fulfill the mandate of President Bola Tinubu for the FCT. From St. James Anglican Church at Sokoro, Kumbi Aboluade, Channels Television News.
A former Minister of Police Affairs and two-term governorship candidate under People's Democratic Party in Yobe State, Adamawa Waziri, has joined the new coalition of the African Democratic Party, the ADC. Mr. Waziri, who disclosed this at the inauguration of the coalition of political parties under the umbrella of African Democratic Party in Yobe, says that President Bola Tinubu has failed Nigerians and should not be allowed to go beyond 2027. The exercise is holding just 4 days after the leaders of the major opposition parties met to form a coalition ahead of the 2027 general election.
The two-term governorship candidate under the platform of the People's Democratic Party, Adamawa Waziri, wife of the former governor of Adamawa State, Zainab Bono Haruna, among other top politicians in Yobe State, arrived Gashua to sensitize the general public on the new coalition movement. According to them, the coalition, which has 5 opposition parties, are geared towards uniting to face the ruling All Progressives Congress during the 2027 general election.
ADC has come to stay. It is the party to beat. It is the platform that is providing the much-needed solace and the much-needed respite for the maladministration that we are facing in Nigeria.
It is the lack of satisfaction that has given birth to the coalition of ADC. So if we are satisfied, there would have been no need for us to come out with a new thing. So we are not satisfied. We are not happy. Our people in the grassroots are not happy. Now, even the rich are not happy about this government. So that is the reason why this party has come on board to save Nigeria.
Adamawa Waziri, who spoke to the generality of the supporters, denounced his former party, People's Democratic Party, to join a new coalition under the African Democratic Party platform. He insists that President Bola Tinubu should not be allowed to exceed 2027 as president of the country due to poor governance.
I decided to come here to Yobe to physically profess that I have joined the ADC and will urge my supporters and non-supporters alike to join the ADC to contest the 2027 elections, to bring about good governance in our country.
The stakeholders are expected to visit all the 3 senatorial districts of the state to create awareness among their supporters.
Meanwhile, reactions have continued to trail the political moves by the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, along with former Senators Ahmed Binani, Ishaku Abo, and other members of the Nigerian National Opposition Coalition from Adamawa State, who adopted the African Democratic Congress to pursue their political ambitions ahead of the 2027 general elections. The Adamawa State chapter of the ADC has set conditions, while the state chapter of the PDP says it is not bothered by the exit of Mr. Atiku and his allies from the party. Both political parties have now stated their positions at separate press briefings held in Yola, the Adamawa State capital.
It appears not to be an easy sale for former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, as the ADC leadership, led by the state chairman in Adamawa State, addresses the gale of defections. At a news conference in Yola, the chairman of the ADC in Adamawa State stresses that the party's constitution remains sacrosanct, as he urges the new entrants to respect the established party structure.
I want to affirm and confirm that the current leadership and structure of the ADC in Adamawa State is legitimate and intact, united and strong. Contrary to any rumor or speculation making the round, no one has resigned and no one will resign.
On its part, the People's Democratic Party announced the commencement of the sale of nomination forms for the upcoming by-elections in Jeddah local government area, incidentally the hometown of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. The chairman of the PDP in Adamawa accused the members of the new coalition of being long-time beneficiaries of the PDP since the party's inception, who turned around and dumped the party.
We can assure our teeming supporters of the party in the state that we are still on ground, regardless of the rancor that is happening, which is very usual. But for the avoidance of doubt, those that are causing this confusion are the major beneficiaries of this party from inception. Nobody benefited more than them. But considering their age and their antecedent, they refuse to allow the younger generation to grow. That is why they feel sidelined. They went and formed a futile association, the Association of the Aggrieved, of which we know is going nowhere.
As the political realignments continue, observers believe that the forthcoming by-election will serve as a litmus test for the political strength of both parties and the newly formed coalition.
The Niger Delta Protection Commission, NDPC, has imposed a fine of 766.2 million naira on MultiChoice Nigeria for breaches of the Nigeria Delta Data Protection Act. The investigation, launched in the second quarter of 2024, was prompted by concerns over potential violations of subscribers' privacy rights and the unauthorized transfer of Nigerian personal data across borders. The Commission findings also reveals that the MultiChoice infringed on the privacy rights of both subscribers and their contacts who are not subscribers and engage in illegal cross-border data transfers. The NDPC has described these actions as a serious violation of the fundamental right of privacy guaranteed by Section 37 of the 1999 Constitution. In the world of sports, Super Falcons of Nigeria have kick-started their own campaign at the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations, which is holding in Morocco, on a solid note. The 9-time champions beat Tunisia 3-0 in their opening Group B game at Casablanca earlier today. Asisa Teswala and Nrisola Babajide made in 2 in the first half. Chinwendo Ihezwo sealed the 3rd point for Nigeria in the second half. But earlier, Senegal laid down a marker in Group A of the CAF Women's Africa Cup of Nations with a commanding 4-0 win over the Democratic Republic of Congo. A brace each by Mama Diop and Gerney Ndiaye in the first half helped the Lionesses to emphatic victory in their first match of the year's competition. The governor of Nasarawa State, Abdullahi Sule, has rewarded an outstanding performance of the state's athletes and coaches who brought glory to Nasarawa State at various national sports competitions. During the reception held at the Government House in Lafia, the state capital, the governor gifted the athletes, coaches and supporters over 60 million naira and also presented 2 brand new 18-seater Hayes buses to the management members and state's men and women's premier football teams, Nasarawa United.
we have actually arranged a few support for you to show you our appreciation. You know, the one that I'm going to make the announcement are going to come directly from the state government. For our players, our team, you know, the state government will give you 25 million naira. To make sure that that money goes directly to you. For the coach and the technical team, we are reserving 5 million naira for them on one side so that they don't touch your money. As for the Nasarawa United, it's okay going to get 20 million naira for the players only. And for the coach and the technical team, they are going to get 5 million naira also so that they don't touch the money meant for you. For supporters club, we are going to give you 5 million naira. And for the feeder team that are working so hard to come, you will also get 5 million naira. For the wonderful team that we sent to Ogun State, you know, which we have done a wonderful job for us, we are going to give 10 million naira to you.
Norris says that it was everything he dreamed of after making the most of McLaren teammate Oscar Piastri's misfortune to secure an emotion-charged British Grand Prix victory earlier today. The beaming 25-year-old Briton claimed his maiden home triumph in stirring fashion to Trim's lead in the Drivers' World Title race to 8 points, and that's after Australian was handed a 10-second penalty for driving erratically while leading behind the safety car. Nico finished a stirring third for Sube to claim the first podium appearance of his long career. That's after 239 races. Carlos Alcaraz again tested the nerves of his legions of fans earlier today. That's before dismissing Andrei Rublev to reach the Wimbledon quarterfinals and stay on track for a third straight title. The Spaniard lost the first set of the Russian 14th seed under the center court roof, but then found his feet again to win 6-7, 6-3, 6-4, 6-4 as he roared on by a partisan crowd. World number one Aryna Sabalenka marched into the Wimbledon quarterfinals early, paving way for him to seek re-election in next year's general elections. The president has accepted the party's wishes, saying that he had responded to the call, and if elected, he will press ahead with his mission to turn Uganda into a high middle-income country. Mr. Museveni's critics say that he has ruled with an iron hand since the seized power as a rebel leader back in 1986. He has won every election held since then, and the constitution has been amended twice to remove age and term limits to allow him to remain in office. At least 68 people have been killed after flash floods swept through parts of central Texas. The state governor, Greg Abbott, says that so many people have been swept into an extraordinary catastrophe following the floods. It says a meeting with officials is taking place at a local level, and there is a collaborative effort to address concerns as quickly as possible. From the White House, President Donald Trump says that he has signed a major disaster declaration for Kern County, where most of the deaths occurred, to ensure that first responders immediately have the resources they need. He reiterated his administration's commitment to continue to work closely with state and local leaders. The main news again. President Bola Tinubu has directed the military to decimate terror groups and criminal gangs as Nigeria celebrates the 2025 Army Day. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawado. Have a fruitful week ahead. Good night.